to the point in which you will have the ability to create stories and speeches that are able to motivate and inspire your audience no matter where. So are you all ready to come on this journey today? Let's see a reaction on the screen. You can give me a thumbs up if you are. Okay, I can see a few thumbs going up and some people are still trying to find the reaction buttons. All right. Thank you, Hariharan, for the 2 thumbs up. Okay, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let us begin. I'm going to take control now to share the screen. And with that, let's start here. Okay. All right. Can everybody see the screen? It should say tell to sell. Okay. Tell your story. Now, this is a workshop that's designed for you to have a framework that would be able to help you design and discover your speech at any given point of time. All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. No problem. Let's start. A little bit more about me that's not there in the introduction, which I would like to share with you so that you know a little more about why we are doing this workshop. Okay. And it goes like this. Okay. So the reason that I'm doing this is because of the insights and inputs that I've had over the last couple of years where it comes to developing speeches, coaching people who are doing speeches and writing speeches for people in various positions, because all of them need to impress upon their audience a particular message and something that they want to share, right? And I believe that that is the way to go, because for each of us, there is a quote that I want to share with you, which spells out specifically what is the importance of this workshop and why you should look for some of the gems that I hope that you'll be able to uncover today, right? There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. Each and every one of us has our personal journey. Each and every one of us has had a moment in which their lives have been changed and touched. And it's important for us to be able to share that with the world. Now, if you believe that that is right, give me a reaction, show me a heart on your screen as part of the reaction here. Okay. Okay. Thank you. You're still with me. All right. So through this particular point, oops, I think I've hit the wrong button, but I believe we can get back on track. Okay. When it comes to being able to deliver a speech, there are a few people that we look at as icons, right? So help me understand if you can identify the people that are coming up in the slide up next. Okay. You can unmute yourself and give me the answers of anyone that you can identify from this.
Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela, great. Hitler, excellent.
Obama.
Barack Obama, very good.
Genghis Khan.
Genghis Khan, okay. Well, full marks for that one. Okay. How about the gentleman over here?
Graham Bell.
Winston Churchill.
Winston Churchill, exactly, that's right. And how about this gentleman right down here in the corner?
He is the winner of the Toastmasters International ISE contest 2019, if I'm not wrong.
Actually 2015, but yes, close. The gentleman's name is Muhammad Katani, and he won the World Championship of Public Speaking in 2015 with a brilliant speech. And I'll share more about it later, okay? Now, of these speakers that are here, which one do you think has the most effective manner of speaking or communicating?
Obama.
Obama, okay. I have one score for Obama, one vote for Obama. Anyone else?
Churchill.
Vote for
Churchill,
Hitler.
okay.
Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela. Okay.
One vote for Hitler.
One vote for Hitler. Thank you. Okay, so I'm getting one vote for each of them. All right. Okay. Now here's the thing. If we have one vote for everybody, so let's go to the audience and give them what they want. The truth is, each and every one of them has been an effective communicator through the speeches that they have exuded. All right. So to start with Nelson Mandela, you will know that his manner of speaking and his message has always been about peace. Right. You will remember where Confucius. Okay, sorry. You will remember where John F. Kennedy, that's John F. Kennedy over there. You'll remember where he asked this important question that most of us remember today. And it is, ask not what your country can do for you. Instead, ask what you can do for your country. Right? That's a statement from him. We remember blood, toil, sweat, and tears, which was a very powerful speech that turned the tide of World War II, given by Winston Churchill. Right? Barack Obama is a prolific speaker. Every time that he held the mic, he had a manner in which he spoke that had class, and you wanted to listen to the way that he conveyed his message. And through all of them, you even have Hitler, who was able to take an entire nation out of a feeling of sadness, out of a feeling of depression, and charge them forward. Charge an entire nation. That is what makes him a good speaker. We are not focused on what actions have been a result of that, but his ability to inspire his audience puts him among the top communicators on the planet that ever lived. Right? It is for that purpose and that skill set that we know that we can draw something good out of that. Okay? And that's the reason why I put him up here. So let me ask you, of these speakers, who has the best style that you can relate to or you would like to speak like?
Obama.
Obama. Okay, Obama, right? Got 2 votes for Obama. Anyone else?
One more vote for Obama.
One more, 3 for Obama. Okay.
One more for Obama.
4 for Obama. Wonderful.
Yes,
All right.
I would also go for Obama.
Would like to go for which one, Dharmesh?
Obama.
Obama. Okay, so that's 5 out of 5 for Obama. That's fantastic. Now, can somebody tell me? Unmute yourself as you're saying this. That's absolutely fine. Why do you like the way Obama speaks?
Shall I tell?
To them.
Go, Vishwa. Since you started, go ahead.
Yeah. So Obama in person, we have seen him actually in person, in the sense on televisions. He came to India, how he spoke to people, how he convinced for his presidency. And when he was in a president, when he was heading the US, how he has convinced the people. So we have seen him. For that reason, maybe we are liking him actually. The people, Nelson Mandela, Hitler also are a great communicator. But at the same time, we have not seen by our eyes. So
okay.
Believing
so
on
Vishwa,
our...
what you're saying is that he's a great communicator because you know, by seeing him itself, you feel drawn to him, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you feel in many ways that his words inspire.
Yes.
Okay. And is there a quality of his that you like as a person? Is there a quality that you like in the way that he speaks?
He's very down to earth. We have seen him many times where he is speaking to the people who he cannot speak also, but he can reach the people the way he want. He never said I am the president. He always said I am the person of people. So where he connects easily to every person.
Okay, so he connects to his audience because he comes across as very approachable, right? As somebody you can identify with. Okay. All right. So that's part of his persona. That's one of his qualities. His manner of speaking is good. And I'm going to stress a little more about these styles that will make you more acceptable to your audience. Okay. All right. So that being said, we've identified a few qualities. I would like for every one of you to think about what is your strength as a speaker. Think about what is your strength in your quality as a speaker. All right. I don't want you to tell me what it is, but I do want you to write it down, either text it to yourself or write it down in a book. I'll give you 30 seconds. Just think of 2 or 3 qualities that stands out for you as a speaker.
Jervis, I have a question.
Yes.
How would we know what quality do we have as a speaker when none of them have given us a feedback?
Okay. That's a good point. Fine. How do we know what is a quality? How many speeches have you given?
I have finished 3 levels in
Okay.
one pathway.
Okay. And
And
you've
yeah,
not received any feedback?
I did receive a feedback, but most of them were like, we like your intonation,
Mm-hmm.
we like your flow of ideas. But I
Okay.
was thinking, can that be really my strength in a speech? Or should it basically be connecting to people or having a strong story?
Okay.
I'm a little bit confused.
That's a good question, Sarika, and I will address that more in detail. For now, you could mention the 2 points that you shared with me, your intonation and your flow of ideas, as one of your strengths. All right. For the moment, just take these 2 points.
Okay,
All right. And
thank
we build up on that. Okay.
you.
All right. Great. So now that we have that listed down and we've got a question also answered, let's look at some more people that we can look at as speakers. All right. So these have been some of the panelists with the CMC workshop, which was conducted for an international audience that I was privileged to be a part of. We ran this program from October through December, where we focused on various aspects of being able to deliver a speech online. All right. And these were some of my core trainers at this particular program. All right. Now, there is one more space that I've reserved during this workshop. Okay. And this is the photo that's coming up next. The photo is blank. And that's because at some point, I would like to have you in that frame. At some point, I would like to have you in that frame of people that are considered prolific speakers. All right. Very good. Okay. So let's move forward. Now, when it comes to you being able to deliver a speech, okay, there are a few things to keep in mind, and some may require more amount of focus. And I'm going to come to that in just a moment. So the first one, focus on the why. If you notice on the screen, there are 4 lines that are written there. Okay. Each of these is a message to you, something that you have taken back after listening to these speeches. Okay. The first one is, of course, words have power. And this was a phrase that was that came out of Muhammad Katani's speech, right? When he won the World Championship of Public Speaking, words have power. Till today, 6 years later, people still will identify him with that speech. I see something in you was from the 2014 World Champion of Public Speaking, Dhananjaya Hettiarachchi. Okay, I see something in you. That was his speech. Reach out was a message delivered by Presian Vasilev from the 2013 World Champion of Public Speaking. I will share the link in the chat for you to go and watch his speech. Lastly, trust is a must. Ryan Avery's speech from 2012. Now you're probably wondering, Jervis, you're going backwards with all these speeches from world champion speakers who have won, the World Champion of Public Speaking, and you're going backwards in time. The point is simply this, is that this many years later, you can still recall those speeches by that tagline. So point number 1, as part of your homework, watch these speeches. Watch the World Champion public speaking winners, right? To find out the style in which they convey their message. Okay. This is for you to develop your own skill, the framework to develop your own skill, because many times we don't know exactly where to go. So it's a good place to start with how they have structured their speech. How do you look at that? And I'm going to break down some of the elements for you through through the sequence in the workshop. Okay, so far so good. Okay, very good. So remember, you have some homework. You're going to watch the world champion of public speaking winners from 2012 all the way till 2015. Now you're probably wondering, Jervis, why not 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20? You can, right? There's absolutely nothing to stop you from doing that. Just for the purpose of this workshop, I'm sharing these with you because these have been by far the more prominent ones that people will remember over this gap of time, right? People remember this over this gap of time. So the more recent ones, you could just as easily say, you know what, it was last year, it was some time back, no problem, right? But these are the ones that will stick with you, that stick with you over this duration of time. The other thing I'm going to ask you is this. The reason that these taglines have stuck is because they are the central message of that story. Let me repeat that. These are the central message of that story. Okay. So when you're crafting your speech, remember to first lay out what is your message and find yourself a tagline. I'll dwell more about that as we progress in the workshop, but this is just to get you oriented into what you should be looking for when you're writing your speech. Okay. All right. Next. 3 elements that we're going to build up on, or we're going to focus on at this point in the workshop. The first one is, of course, your voice. The second one is your story. And the third part is your message. Your voice, your story, your message, VSM. Okay. All right. So let's get started with point number 1. That is your story. As you're writing out you've got your message in your mind, you're going to start to think about how are you going to convey that message to people. Do you remember what are the four impactful ways in which you can have an opening and a closing? Right? Can anyone share that? Whatever you can think of, the 4 effective ways to build an opening.
To ask a question.
Very good, Babani. Yes, you ask a question.
A small anecdote.
Or
A small
open
anecdote.
with-
Very good.
yeah, open with quote.
A quote. Okay. And
State of fact.
how do you
fact.
mean status?
Sorry.
How do you mean status, Babani?
No, I said fact. Sorry, I said start your
Okay.
speech with a fact, maybe with numbers. Yeah.
Very good. You can start with an important fact, or you've already said the other ones. Use a small story, use an anecdote, use a fact, or ask a hard-hitting question. Right? And these are some of the 4 effective ways that you will do both an opening and a close. And there's a reason for that. There's a logic for that. The reason is for you to orient your audience towards what you're going to share with them. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's move forward. This is the part in which let me dwell a little more on this. This is the part in which you're going to choose your opening. Now, when you've got your message, you're going to choose the story you're going to tell for that message. And you'll understand this as you watch Presian Vasilev's Changed by Attire. That speech, his world champion public speaking winning speech, Changed by Attire. He spends most of that, at least 60% of that speech, he focuses on telling the story of how attire changed his life. Attire changed his life. Okay. So why the story? Now, as you're trying to figure out which story of yours you want to share, think about what is it that you want the audience to feel. Do you want them to feel, you're going to want them to feel happy at some point. You're going to want to share with them the sadness you felt at some point. You're going to want them to feel what you went through as you're telling them that story. When it comes to the, you're right. So the feeling is extremely important, is because that is the way you're going to make your message stick. I know most of us are probably thinking, but Jervis, I want to motivate my audience to do something. Yes, that should be a result. Motivating them to an action should be a result. Okay. But you want to impress on them why it is important to you, what you feel about it, so that they can relate to it. And when the two of you can relate to that, you will have connected with your audience. When you and the audience relate to your story, you can connect to your audience. Okay. Lastly, when it comes to numbers, keep those to a minimum, because not all of us are either from an engineering background, or not all of us really love numbers. There is a small percentage of the population that does, but by and large, audiences will always enjoy a story. Okay. All right. The next part is about jumping into the action. So for example, let's say that you want to talk about a time at which you were in school, and when you heard the ice cream seller pass by your house, he had that little bell, right? On the cart, with a little pedal cycle cart that he used to drive through, and then there was a bell on it, and then you knew that the ice cream guy was in the vicinity, right? So instead of telling the audience, and some of us do this a lot, is that I'd like to share with you a story about at the time that I was 10 years old. Okay. Instead, jump to it to say, ring, 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 ring. I heard the bell and I was excited beyond measure, because I knew the moment I heard that sound, there was a delicious ice cream waiting for me in the cart that the ice cream man got. Do you see the difference? You're jumping right into the story. The audience is with you, listening to the sounds, thinking about the ice cream. They're not bothered about which flavor, right? They're thinking about directly, gosh, okay, I like the orange one. Someone else would be thinking, I like the mango one. Someone else would be thinking, I like the tutti frutti one, right? So let the audience imagine that, but you're creating that feeling for them. Is this making sense? So jump right into the action when it comes to your story. Okay. All right. So far, so good. Any questions? Okay. Let's move to the second part. We've talked about the story. Let's look at your voice. It's not so much what you say, but how you say it. Why are we focused on this? At Toastmasters focuses on your ability to stand and deliver. I'll repeat that. Your ability to stand and deliver. The way you deliver your speech, the way you deliver your message is what will stick with an audience, right? Because you're making them feel something. Now, how you say it becomes extremely important. I know a lot of the times, and even today, right, I feel nervous about giving a speech. When I'm on a stage and there's a vast audience in front of me, or I'm there's a Zoom call that's happening, and there's an audience there. People tell me I come across as confident, but I still feel that nervousness even today. 11 years after being a Toastmaster, I still feel that nervousness. So it's absolutely normal that you will feel some variety of anxiety or nervousness as you're going to deliver your speech, right? But you know what helps that? Do you know what helps that? Focus on what you want to share with your audience. Okay. Focus on your delivery to your audience. I'm going to dwell on that in the next slide and tell you why. Now, how you say it. Okay. So here's a case in point about how you say it. I love chocolate. Simple statement, right? I love chocolate. Key emotion over here is I love. What is it that I love? It's chocolate. Everybody can relate to that statement. Yep. But now let's throw some emotion into it. I love chocolate. I love chocolate. I love chocolate so much, even my skin color is milk chocolate. Can you see in the voice, the excitement I'm feeling about chocolate? And I know some of you are probably reaching for a dairy milk, something that's close by, right? So what am I conveying? I'm conveying from my mind the last time I had a chocolate that deliciously melted on my tongue when I bit into that Cadbury silk. And just like the ad, I started licking my fingers. And even though there was a little bit that went on my beard, I didn't mind. I still picked it up and licked it because I love chocolate. Chocolate is that one thing that makes me so happy. Even if I've had the worst day, even if I lost my job, even if my pet had died, and even if the world came to an end, I would still just want to have that last piece of chocolate before I go. That's how much I love chocolate. Now, if you realize, ladies and gentlemen, what I tried to demonstrate there was not just my love for chocolate, but I gave you a contrast as to no matter what happens, chocolate is what I love, right? You can feel the emotion through which it is said. You can feel the emphasis when I say I love chocolate, right? And the contrast as to if I lost my job, if I lost my dog, or if the world is coming to an end, I love chocolate. Okay. So for the stronger parts of your message, use that particular part. Okay. For the stronger parts of your message, the key point of your message, whenever you're using your message in that fashion, remember that is something that you have to do. Okay. Use that emotion. 3D voices. So 3D voices for me work like this. Well, when we talk about dialogue, let's just put it this way. Okay. So, Mama, I want you to make your special potato bhaji today. Okay. And then my mom said, son, you have to go and buy the potatoes. Okay, Mama, I'll go and buy the potatoes. Right. But don't forget, get the big potatoes, don't get the small ones. Okay. So 9 out of 10, our representation of a dialogue will happen in this fashion where we will turn to imitate the other person who we're speaking to. Is that right? Can I get a thumbs up if that's right? Right. Okay. So since most of us do that, another way to make that more effective is, Mama, make that potato bhaji today. Huh? Okay, son, I'll make that potato bhaji, but you have to buy the potatoes. Okay, I'll go and get them, no problem. But remember, okay, bring the big ones. Don't bring the small ones. So what I did there was, even though I don't sound like a girl, I've changed my voice to imitate the other person speaking, right? That adds a different dimension to the speech that you're going to give. Once again, stand and deliver. It's about your delivery. So the more the variety that you add to your delivery will enrich the way your message is received by your audience. Is that making sense? Yes? Okay. Now, again, animated gestures. So animated gestures work like this, which will help with your voice. All right. Let me see if I can do this in a particular way. So I want to talk to you about a time in which I felt full of confidence, right? Watch my hands. I felt full of confidence. Nothing, absolutely nothing in this world is able to push me down. Instead, I felt so confident at this point that everything was just looking to lift me up higher and higher, higher and higher every single time that I knew no matter what challenges lay in front of me, I could conquer them and become even stronger. That is how I felt the day that that girl in college said yes when I asked her, will you be my girlfriend? Okay. Now, what did I demonstrate at this point? Vishwa, what did you feel I tried to demonstrate at this point?
The action speaks more than the words. Actually, yeah.
Okay.
Your
Good.
actions, we are thinking while you are speaking, we are seeing your actions also. That the emotions which you are going through. Yeah,
Correct.
I'm confident, but that words, that wordplay, it is very good actually. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. All right. Who else do I have in the audience? Let me see. Aditya. Aditya, what did you think I was trying to portray when, what was the impression that you got? Please share that with me. Okay, Aditya may have, somebody's raised their hand. Sarika, yes, go ahead.
Jervis, I felt that you're trying too hard to put that message across.
Okay.
And I think gestures only work with voice. But
Okay. All right.
I don't know if you're able to get what I'm trying to tell you.
I get what you're saying completely. You're right. Okay. Bhavani, do you have a point you want to add? Go ahead.
Yeah, I felt like even though you were saying, I think your body language and your gestures kind of added more impact to it.
Thank you very much. That's exactly what I was going for. Now, there are certain points, just as Toastmaster Sarika had said, right? There's some points at which your gestures will feel forced, like you're pushing that point to the audience. Okay. So if it's going to an extreme, right, slow it down. If it's going to an extreme, slow it down. Use natural ways in which you would normally speak. Practice that. Natural ways. It should come out naturally. The other element is this. Each time I'm pushing that action, you realize that there is a change in my voice that if I wasn't making that action, my voice would not move with the action. Right? So when I'm talking about lifting up, as I'm raising my hands, lifting up, it creates two effects. One is my muscles are speaking to you, and second, it's changing my voice in the way I'm speaking to you. Okay. So as you go through your speaking journey, use this as a tool to enhance your vocal variety. Use this as a tool to enhance your vocal variety. Does that make sense? And that's what I mean about animated gestures. Now, some of us may have learned that, okay, if I'm saying high, I have to point up. If I'm saying low, I have to point down. If I'm saying strong, I have to show my biceps. It's not necessary, right? It's not necessary. But if you naturally speak that way, then that's fine. Because if you force it, just as Bhavani had pointed out, if you force it, then it doesn't, sorry, as Toastmaster Sarika pointed out, if you force it, then it doesn't come across naturally. Does this help? Yes? Okay. We'll talk more about it as we're moving forward. All right. So the next part is this. Now, your message. The purpose of you having to deliver your speech is not your pathway project. It's not a project. It's for you to have a message that you want to share with an audience. Always remember that. It's the message you want to share with your audience. Your message could be anything. Road safety, buy life insurance, be kind to other people. Your message could be anything, but it has to be your message. Okay. So Who are you writing your speech for? What is the number one reason that you are writing your speech for? Anyone?
To basically tell a story of our life.
Okay, that's one part. Anyone else? Some of the other participants who have been quiet for this while, Kalpana, if you can speak, go ahead.
I will like to convey some takeaway,
Okay.
something that I believe,
Okay.
and
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, something which I feel that, by listening to it, everybody can get benefit out of it.
Very good. Okay. Pratima?
If I have a story worth sharing and others get benefited out of it.
Okay, if you have a story worth sharing that the others can. All right. The number one, so let me share this with you. The number one person that you're writing your speech for is for your audience. The number one reason you're writing that speech is for your audience. Now, the paradigm shift works here. If you are focused on your audience, you will give them the message in the way that they can accept, more than the way that you are trying to deliver it. In the way you have to orient your mind for your audience. So for example, if you are speaking to a group of only men, then as you're telling your story, your message can be focused on something that mostly men will accept. If you're talking to just a general audience of women, right? Majority of the audience over there is women. Then your story and your message can focus on them. If you're speaking to an age group that is, say, for example, 10 and lower, your message, your way you're speaking about it will be very different. If you're speaking to people who are over, say, 50 or 60 years old, the way that you convey your message and your message will be different. So your point is always keep in mind your audience. Now you're probably wondering, Jervis, that's all fine and dandy, but what about if we don't know who our audience is? So in that case, please ask the organizers about the members in your audience, right? And through the Q&A session, I'll share with you how you can look at, the larger picture where it comes about that. Because if the number one reason, and now moving to point number 2, the number one reason is your message is for your audience. Because if you don't think about number 1, then you become no one. If you're not thinking about point number 1, your speech is for no one. Okay. It's all about the audience. Does this make sense? Okay. So we've looked at your story, what you're going to add to it. Is you looked at your message, you looked at your voice, and how you're going to enhance that, speaking through your body as well, as naturally as possible, right? Thinking about your audience, they're the number one reason that you're going to have a speech, and that is going to make you filter out the message you want to share with them. Notice the words I'm using. It's a message you want to share with your audience. Right? A message you want to share with your audience. Okay. All right. So when it comes to ISE, it's a good place to start is here. Okay. What goes into that entire speech that a judge is going to look at? Okay. So if you haven't already seen this, please download it from the Toastmasters website. Even if you're not competing for an international speech contest, but you just want a general orientation of how you should build your speech, focus on these points. Your content has 50%, your delivery has 30%, your language has 20%. Okay, this is a guideline and an overall marking scheme that they will have as they're building this. Okay, But remember a few points. Speech development is, you have an opening, body close, the effectiveness, achievement of purpose, interest, and reception. Again, message for your audience. Okay. The ideas, logic, and original thought is about the insight from the message that you will give your audience. And I'll circle back to that point as soon as I'm done with this list, right? Body language, appearance, your use of the speaking area. Even though we're confined to a frame now, Mike Carr, who won the World Champion of Public Speaking 2020, used the entire frame as he spoke from as many angles as possible, right? Watch that speech if you get a chance to. It's an education on how you can use limited spaces for maximum impact. Okay. Voice flexibility is, focused on your delivery. Again, manner, direct, assurance, enthusiasm speaks about, is your message clear? Don't bother about the big words. It just means, is your message clear? And that's the reason that the taglines work really well. Words have power. Reach out. Trust is a must, right? You'll remember these speeches purely because of this particular point. Okay. Next, speech purpose to the audience, like I said about your audience, and a small percentage goes for your ability to use the English language in the correct syntax. Okay, it is 10 marks or 10 points for grammar, pronunciation, and word selection. Now notice this is only 10%. It's the least of anything that you should be thinking about. So it doesn't matter how good you are with English, how great you're using the words. What's important is the effectiveness of your message going to your audience. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay. How do you craft a good message? This is something I picked up from Ed Tate, so I want to share this with you as well. It's here. There's 4 H's. I'm going to share with you 3 of them, and I'll get to why this is a part of your message. Okay. The first one is head. You want people to think. So as you're building your story, this is the reason why we have the problem and the challenge that you have faced, or the problem and the challenge that the hero of your story or the heroine of your story was facing. Okay. It makes people think. Now, the second part is heart, but I've broken that word up because they're going to listen to the words that you're going to make them feel. Your audience is going to listen to how you make them feel, right? Okay. The optional dose over here is with humor. If you can add humor, that's okay. If you can't add humor, that's okay. So humor is not a requirement. It's a nice to have. If you don't have it, no problem. The clarity of your message is more important. Right? So far, so good? Yes? Once again, make them think, make them feel, and they're going to listen to you to feel that. Make them think, make them feel, they're going to listen to you to do that. Okay? All right. Now, how do you add that flavor for them to hear and feel at the same time? Here's what you do. Okay. As you watch Presyan Vasilev's Changed by Attire, and I told you about the elements that he uses 60% of his time just doing the story. Okay. So what does he do? He speaks about the environment. It was a warm summer's night, and though it was supposed to be cool, the clouds overhead, the lights overhead felt as bright as the sun. So what I'm doing is I'm describing my environment. Okay. Or for example, you could say, I was sitting opposite my boss. It was appraisal time. And even though the AC was set at a 22, which is low. I was feeling extremely hot. My head was sweating. My palms were sweating. My socks were even sweating because I was nervous about my appraisal. What if he asked me a question? Oh my gosh. And I didn't know the answer. Oh my gosh. At that moment, I realized I should attend more meetings and do more table topics. Right. So I'm describing my environment to give you an idea about as rather not too much and not too little also, but I'm drawing you into what I'm feeling and what's happening at that point. Okay. Next, every good story has people or characters that make that story more alive. So if you remember, when, take for example, the hare and the tortoise. Everybody knows the story, right? The hare and the tortoise. So one day the hare and the tortoise had a race in the forest. There are the two animals that are there, and they run the race. The hare in the middle falls asleep. The tortoise at the end of it manages to win, going all the way to the finish line, right? But the characters within the story are a hare, a tortoise. The same way in which you can add to your story or have your story is involve other people that are there. So for example, when I talk about my boss, there was my boss. He was a big hulking man, even though he was only 5 feet tall and was around 30 centimeters wide. But to me, in my mind, he was like the Hulk. I was always scared of him because his eyes, black, always strained like this, made me feel that he was looking right inside me and trying to pull me out. And it scared me. Right? So while I'm using my voice, I'm using words that are describing a person. You'll notice also that I've used just 3 points of reference, right? Uh, Something specific and 2 points that are general. I've used humor in that as well. So when you're describing people, keep it light so that you don't want to spend uh, too much time on building up the character. Instead, give people the point to imagine what the character will look like. Okay. Next, dialogue. Please use dialogue in your story. I demonstrated that when I was speaking to my mother about making that potato bhaji. Right. Okay. So dialogue adds more flavor to your message. And finally, your message, you can have, even if you're saying something as simple as slow and steady wins the race, the way that you add all these elements will bring out the true flavor. It's like eating a proper Hyderabadi biryani, right? You know all the multiple elements, the ingredients that go inside, but the way you cook it and the personal touch you give makes your family's heart dance with joy the moment they put the first spoon into their mouth. Isn't that right? Right. So my message is to you is about enjoy a Hyderabadi biryani and use all these flavors and the process in which you're cooking them to enhance the dish that you're going to serve for somebody else. Okay. That dish you're serving for somebody else is the message for your audience. Okay. All right. So this is the skeleton and the framework from which each and every one of us can start building up a good story. Remember, the reason you're doing your message, the reason that you're going to share your message is your audience. Then your message is there, which is clear, concise, to the point. You're going to use your voice. You're going to use your body to speak. You're going to have the story selected that will enhance this process, right? And then, of course, you have dialogues, you have characters, which will make that story more flavorful. Okay. All right. Now, some of the common questions that I get are often about, Jervis, but what should I talk about if I want to motivate the audience? So start looking within. So here are some common phrases that you can use. You can even use these to build your tagline, right? Like trust is a must is a common tagline, but you can use that effectively in your own way. So be the change. quote by Mahatma Gandhi, right? Be the change you want to see in the world. Be the change that you want others to be, but it has to start with you. So you twist it to your own message. Next, water drops, the stone, rope saws, cut wood. This quote, if you think about it, is the insight. What is the insight? I left this quote on because it's an insightful quote. If water keeps dropping on a rock consistently, day after day, time after time, that rock will break. A drop of water can break a rock. That is the insight. That is, if you persevere time and time again, you will achieve results. If you persevere time and time again, you will achieve results. Okay. Another one. If you are always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be. If you're always trying to be normal, so this, if I were to compress into a quick tagline, take the chance. Take the chance. That would be my message to you. And this is how I can build the story. I can open the quote with saying, this American poet had said so and so, but my message, of course, will come to take a chance. Okay. If you can't, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. Whatever you do, you have to keep moving. Martin Luther King. So I'll allow you to use your imagination with this one, right? And it's now time, ladies and gentlemen, for some question answers before we conclude this particular session. I hope I haven't taken too much time. Raghu, please let me know if I have.
No, we're good on the time.
Excellent, good. So I'm going to keep this point. Oh, great. Okay, so I'm going to keep this point open for some Q&A. Right. Question and answers, ladies and gentlemen. What are some of the questions that you have? We have all of 8 minutes, all of 7 minutes, I'm going to say, because 1 minute for our SAA to close this wonderful session.
Hello, I am Vanshita. I'm 15 years old.
Yes, Vanshita.
And I just wanted to ask, I am in Gables Club and I am not finding topics for my speeches. What do you think can I speak about?
Okay, so Vanshita, thank you for asking that question. Here's some of the best things that you can share. Who is your audience that you want to share that message with? Let's start there.
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
Yeah, who's the audience you want to share your message with?
Well, just my club members. All of them are below 18.
Okay, so club members below 18, right? So what are some of the general topics that you can talk about? Of course, did we lose her? No, there she is. Okay. So think about it this way. What is most important for you in your life at this point? Right? Or what is one thing that you would want to share with everybody at this point? Okay. In the interest of time, let's take one thing. If you're a teenager and you have a Toastmaster mom, then the most important thing you probably want is freedom.
Yeah.
Right. It's okay. My daughter is 14 years old. Exact same thing she tells me. She's like, Dad, don't be so hard on everything. Don't tell me to study. Don't whatever. Right. Okay. So we all want freedom, right? Now, would you be happy? So here's something you can think about from the word freedom. Okay. Think of 3 things that means freedom to you.
Drawing, reading books, and I don't know, playing basketball.
Playing basketball. Okay, fine. So drawing, reading books, and playing basketball. These things mean that at that moment, I'm going to guess here, all right? At that moment, when you're doing any of these 3 things, you feel freedom. Because freedom for you at that point is that you're only focused on what you are doing. When you're reading a book, you are lost in the world that the author has created. You're in a fantasy land that is built with such beauty and magic and awe, and sometimes even things that are scary, but you love it there. It's a thrill for you, right?
Yeah.
When you play basketball, puts your entire body and your soul and your mind into the fact that you're dribbling and you're thinking about all the greats that have played basketball. And as you watch that ball go inside the hoop, the swoosh, yes, I love that feeling. That for me is freedom. That moment is freedom,
Yeah.
right? So
Exactly.
great. So as you're thinking about this, try and describe how you feel. Your audience is going to feel the same with you. And then add some insight. Now, while your mom often will tell you things that to make you cautious, and she might tell you that, you know what, when you're going outside and you're playing basketball, take care. And you're like, it's okay if my knees get hurt. I don't mind so much, right? But why is she doing that? As much as you hate listening to it, you know in some way that she loves you, that she cares about you, that your pain at that moment is her pain in her heart. So that's why sometimes, as much as we don't like our parents, we have to trust that they love us. Trust that they love us.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So I hope that's given you something to play with. Wish you all the best for your next speech.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. Yes, Bhavani, since you raised your hand, go ahead. Manu, I'm coming to you next.
Actually, yeah, I actually have two questions and you can answer them really quickly. The
Sure.
first one is there any other way to start or conclude a speech other than the four things that we discussed? Or we need to, those are the four, that's it.
You can start the speech in any way that you choose. These have been suggested because they add impact. So maybe you'd like to start with a joke, or maybe you'd like to just start by addressing the audience and saying good morning, good afternoon, good evening, right? It's entirely up to you.
Okay. Yeah. When we say that we use fact, in my humorous speech contest that I gave at division level, I started my speech with a useless fact.
Good.
It was a very different thing. So yeah, my mentor was like, why do you want to state a useless fact? So I was like, I think it adds the punch. Like I am drawing the attention and then it's all for nothing, and then I move to my introduction. So Is it okay to use a useless, fact at the beginning?
For a humorous speech, especially. So one of my favorite ones is this. Okay, 100% of all divorces are caused by marriages.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah.
Right. So yes, it's a useless fact, but if it adds value to your speech, do it. It has to add value. It has to enhance the fact that your audience will receive your message, even if it's a humorous speech. Okay.
Got it. Now I feel good about my useless fact.
Lovely.
Yeah.
All right.
And if we have time, I just have one more question, only in the interest of time, if it's okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I have heard, like I'm a very new Toastmaster comparatively. So I've heard that any speech, especially if you're talking to, for 5 to 7 minutes, has two types of purposes, a generic purpose and a specific purpose. So generic could be that the speech is either inspirational or humorous, or, there are other types that I'm forgetting right now. And there has to be a specific purpose. So now that we are talking about ISC, and I'm very keen to contest when the contest starts. So does it apply to the ISC as well?
Okay, so the ISC, the difference with the ISC from most of the project speeches is that the message and the purpose is clear. The message and the purpose is clear. There is no distinction. Okay, so when you say trust is a must, for example, it's in one line, it's very clear that that's the tagline, that's a key part of your message. Or if you say reach out, when you say reach out for help, the message is clear. There's no shame in reaching out. You're not you're not less powerful because you've reached out for help, right? The message is clear. Okay. So the more you focus on that part, you can weave your story around that. Remember your message.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. Yeah, that was helpful. Thanks.
Good. Glad for it. Okay. Sonia, since you've raised your hand, I hope you're not driving. Pull over to the side and then I'll take your question.
Yes, sir. I'm not driving. I'm just waiting here for my husband to come back.
Okay, great. Okay, fine. Go ahead. Sonia, you're frozen for the moment. Yes, go ahead once again. Maybe I'll ask everybody in the audience, type in the chat if it's okay that we can take this for 5 minutes more. Is that okay? Yes? Okay, great. No problem. Okay, Sonia, the reception isn't working like it should. Would you like to type your question into the chat box and then I can take a question from somebody else in the meantime? Yep, let's do that. Type your message, type your question in the chat box and I'll pick it up from there. Oops, okay, she got logged out. Now she's back in. She's connecting through a different device. Okay. Sonia, can we hear you?
Yes. Hi, sorry.
Yes. Good, go ahead.
You mentioned about whenever we write a speech, it should be specific to the audience to whom we want to connect to.
Yes.
What is the speech for the ISC that we are thinking of? It relates only to a part of the demographic, not an entire demographic.
Okay.
Would that be okay, or should it be a very generic one?
Okay, so when I say that the difference between a generic and a specific one is that choose the message that is clear. Let me put it this way, okay? Your message has to be clear. That is, if you want people to exercise for their health, then that's your message.
Okay.
Exercise every day. Okay.
Okay.
Or take care of exercise every day is a very clear message. Take care of your health is a general message. All right. You want yourself to be very, very specific. So exercise. Now, the beauty here is this. Okay. While it is specific, the entire audience can understand it. The entire audience can relate to it. Right. But if you're going to go to, say, a segment of the audience and say, learn coding skills or teach your children coding skills, right? Then you lose out the audience that don't have children. You lose out the audience you lose out the audience that are not engineers. You lose out the audience that may not I wouldn't say may not consider. It's your ability to convince them that coding has value, right? But go with to make them think and go with to make them feel. You'll end up with a broader level of relating to your audience, right? Okay. So how do you do that? So, for example, what do you have a point that you would like to share with your audience, if you don't mind?
Yes. So let us say women empowerment.
Very good. Women empowerment. Now, women empowerment is like take care of your health. It's a very broad term. Okay?
Correct.
Specifically, is there something? Is it like domestic violence? Can I take that as an example?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So something like I'm choosing domestic violence. It's a very, very strong concept. For a lot of people, they may not understand what is a variety of domestic violence. For some people, they might not understand that domestic violence is not only against women, it's also against men.
Correct.
Right? But if you want to specify that domestic violence against women alone, right? In your story, your character has to feel, right, the weight of dealing with that violence. And it doesn't mean physical violence alone.
Okay.
It could also be mental violence. It could also be verbal violence, right?
Right.
Doing something as much as shouting on a regular basis at your spouse.
Right.
That's also violence in itself. So you define that for your audience. Now, the thing is, you can raise that point in the way that everybody has or knows of a woman in their family, in their friend circle, in an extended family, or in the world that has suffered domestic violence. So somebody as popular as Oprah has been a victim of domestic violence and sexual abuse.
Correct.
Right? So try and draw these references, but get to a very specific point. Now, what do you want the audience to do? Raise your voice. Tell them to stop. Or rather, find help. Right? So in that case, reach out could be, a part of how you get very clear about your message.
Right.
I hope that's helpful.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Mano, do you have a point? Mano, you're on mute.
I'm still preparing. I'm not ready for the international competitions and all. It'll take time for me.
No problem.
I'm going to participate in my club level, but I don't think I'll go beyond that.
Sure. Okay. Don't get there. Don't get there. Just focus on your speech.
Yes.
The win is not important.
No, for me, the
most
biggest problem is like the moment I look at the paper, I just keep looking at the paper. I can't get those buzzwords and speak. That I have to improve myself. It's nothing from outside. I have to improve myself. I have to work on it.
That's the beauty of it. It's your journey. Like I said, these are speeches you're going to keep for life.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
And memory is still a problem for me. That I don't know if I could work on that.
Okay.
But if I start looking at the paper, once I look at the paper, I wouldn't be able to do it as smartly as I can do generally. That's why on one-on-one talk, I generally manage to convince the opposite party.
Okay.
But when it comes to a public speech, it becomes difficult for me to convey the message.
Okay. Focus more on the conversational aspect of your speaking, because that's a skill for you. And as we've interacted personally, take your speech in a conversational manner, right?
Yeah.
And use the elements of you giving a speech in what you're doing in your daily life. Then what will happen is that by using those skills on a regular basis, it will become part of how you will normally speak. And then you'll never have to use that sheet again. Okay. All right. Okay. I've got 2 questions in the chat box. You're welcome. I've got 2 questions in the chat box. I'm going to address them very quickly. One is from Raghu. Yes, Raghu, the international speech has to be one that has a motivational message or an inspirational message. Okay. So yes, that's the purpose of the ISC. And how do you handle fear and anxiety? I've seen world champions before they go on to deliver even a workshop, right? What they will do is they will do some relaxing exercises. They will do some deep breaths. They will do things that maybe some of us, we won't mention. I've seen some of them even do push-ups on the stage, right? Whatever it takes to relax. Okay. For me, what I think that relaxes most people after reading all these psychological tips and tricks is look at yourself in the mirror and smile. Okay, it will relax you. And look at other people and smile, and you'll see them smiling, and it will reflect back to you. Okay? And that will help you feel comfortable. It will help you feel calm. Okay. So I know that it could be difficult when you're doing an online session, but smile at your people at home. Okay. Or if there's nobody at home at that point and you said, I don't want you all around when I'm giving a speech, smile in the mirror. At least the mirror will smile back. All right. So that will help you stay calm. And keep in mind, the audience will always want you to win. They will always want for you to give a good speech. Right. It's not just at Toastmasters. Even if you're going to talk to a group of people, they want to hear something interesting from you. All right. So you're already 50% there about, Ari, what they'll think of me. Ari, what if I don't say this right? No problem. They already want that from you. They want you to be successful. Yeah. Okay. All right. With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being part of this particular workshop. I hope that you